Diane King Hall is here, host of Morning Movers, to take a look at some movers, newsmakers. Novo Nordisk first up.
Yeah, Novo Nordisk, you're seeing shares rally, despite them cutting their guidance, actually. But that probably has to do with the impact that we know that Wegovy's future is going to look a little brighter with the compounders having to do away with the dupes, essentially. So they did beat expectations on adjusted EPS. When you convert it to dollars, they earned 92 cents a share on an adjusted basis. Street was looking for 90 cents. Revenue did come up a little bit light at 10.98 billion. Street was looking for a little more than 11.6 billion. Where they see the path from here in terms of guidance, they're projecting 2025 operating profit to grow between 16 and 24%. That's actually down from the range previously that they saw of 19 to 27% growth. Sales of Ozempic did rise on a year-over-year basis by 18%. So that was actually above forecast for that segment. Ozempic is the drug that's used to treat diabetes, but that's the one that they had ultimately found that also treated weight loss. And here you have the Wegovy sales. Now, Wegovy sales soared 85% year over year, but they did decline 13% quarter over quarter. So that missed consensus, and that's the first drop in that drug since Q4 of 2023. Now, we know that the compounders are still able to offer the drugs, but that window ends this month. So they're, in other words, now later this month, the compounding pharmacies that create those duplicates of Wegovy won't be able to offer those drugs. Now, what Novo has done, as you know, Nicole, is they've partnered with, for instance, Hims and Hers and other telehealth to offer the actual version of this Wegovy on those platforms. So approaching it from a partnership aspect versus those companies no longer having any kind of access to any version of this. So it looks like the way investors are reading through this is that it's overall positive. As we know, shares of Novo have been under pressure this year, and part of that has to do with how the street views Eli Lilly and its penetration in the market for weight loss drugs.
I mean, the battle was real between all these names and all the different drugs, but the idea that people wanted that and there was heavy demand. In fact, there were shortages, as you noted. We used to go to the likes of Hims and Hers, the compounded medicines. That's over, and now they're making their own deals. But Novo Nordisk's Wegovy is still like so incredible with the sales. I saw sales surging 85%, as you said. Pretty amazing almost that they have to lower the outlook. I mean, right? Doesn't it still seem like there's people still want these drugs? But it's not like COVID, when COVID was over and then nobody wanted COVID.
No, I mean, because
vaccines,
obviously the landscape is not going to change. Everybody wants to lose weight, right? Or just about everybody. I mean, there are a few people who actually maybe want to gain. Obviously, this is not for them. But, the demand is there, and the fact that, they were the leader of this. They were the front runner of this space, the injectables weight loss. And so Eli Lilly has taken some of that market share, and the idea with Eli Lilly, especially because Eli Lilly has made more progress on the pill front. And so that may also be why we've seen their shares move forward, because although that hasn't come to market yet, they have made more progress in their trials.
Yeah, and Pfizer didn't.
Yeah, and Pfizer did not.
Pfizer pulled that back. Pfizer had other good news, but that particular piece of news, no good for Pfizer. Let's talk about Supermicro. That's a big story,
Yeah, Supermicro shares under pressure right now off the back of their latest quarterly numbers, which we had some indications of this coming into this report, but they missed just across the board. EPS came in at 31 cents a share on an adjusted basis. The street was looking for, actually, the adjustment to the adjustment, they're looking for 30 cents, but before that, the street was actually expecting 50 cents before that adjustment. We know they'd pre-reported before. Revenue came in at 4.6 billion. They cut their guidance. That's part of the issue too. Now they're projecting EPS to come in between 40 to 50 cents. Street was looking for beyond that. Revenue they're guiding for between 5.6 to 6.4 billion. The street was looking for above 6.8 billion. They talked about how customers are delaying some purchases as they evaluate AI platforms, waiting for Nvidia's Blackwell chips. So those delayed commitments, they think they're going to materialize later this year, June, September quarters. Also at issue here for Supermicro, they cited the uncertain macro environment. So that's being flagged here when it comes to Supermicro. So that hitting shares as well. They also cited the tariffs as a reason for also withholding 2026 guidance. So guidance a big issue here because we do have this earnings cycle, Nicole. As you know, there are some companies that are still giving guidance and meeting.
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, some that were even aggressive with positivity. I remember saying, why, as a CEO, would you even do that? I mean, I guess you could, I mean, you don't really have the pressure to say anything. You could just say, oh, well, it looks pretty. I mean, I forget which company it was, but it was just a great outlook. Yes. It just seemed unusual. At this point now, with Supermicro, I mean, they had to delay the numbers. They had accounting issues, and they also warned ahead of time. So maybe it would have been a lot worse today. You know, it's down 4%. Maybe it would have been a lot worse today if they didn't sort of let us know that it was some tough times.
It's true, and to be fair, shares have certainly moved higher year to date. Before today's move, the stock was up about 9%. So it's obviously giving some of that back. So it actually had outperformed the S&P 500. So you can see there has been some resilience in this, despite all the different storylines that have hung around Supermicro.
And then there's Arista Net. So Arista Net, folks, is down 6% today. And I'm seeing some hold. I'm seeing hold, overweight, buy. I mean, there's a mixed bag, neutral. So it looks like neutral, another neutral. So it's not all buys today.
No, it's not. And you're seeing a lot of the sell-side community re-rate their price targets on ANET. So here's how they performed on the trailing quarter. They earned 65 cents a share on an adjusted basis. She was looking for 59 cents. Revenue came in at just above, a hair above $2 billion. She was looking for 1.96 billion. And while they tried to focus on the positive, expectations coming into this were really high. And then there's also concern about the macro risk. They did the same thing as Supermicro, flagging that uncertainty around these tariffs and the trade policy there. They have some contract manufacturers in Mexico, Southeast Asia, so they have exposure. They said they would be more bullish in the second half of this year. And obviously that's because, just about everybody is waiting for some clarity on the trade front and getting some kind of deal. Obviously, good news that we're hearing that the Treasury Secretary will be headed to Switzerland to kick off some negotiations with China. But again, ANET pointing out that there is some exposure, so you can see why, even though they beat expectations, shares under some pressure. They did highlight there was some strong demand in AI, cloud, and enterprise customers. Those were the drivers.
So, and I will give you an example of a company that is very positive. For example, Rockwell Automation, which is a leader in the S&P 500 today. I know you've been reading through this, but basically they said that management didn't simply raise the forecast to reflect a strong quarter, but expects continued good times, and that they're putting in all kinds of resiliency for their operations. I mean, they're ready for a highly dynamic environment. So there you have it. I mean, there are some companies that are just bucking the trend. It's up 11% today. Charles River is number one in the S&P. Okay, good to see you, Diane
Good to be
King
with
Hall.
you, Nicole.
We covered some good names there.